Hello and welcome to the Talking Trubbish podcast. I'm here with Kirsty Summers, who is always a delight to talk to. How are you today?
I am well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. So a lot of things have been going on Hot Storm Productions channel. I hit the 75 followers, which means
Exciting.
yeah. Well, it isn't because I foolishly said that when I hit 75 followers that I would then go on to play Bubsy 3D on the channel. So that is now been lined up as the next game that we're going to be playing once we've finished Sonic Adventure 1. Probably at the end
Exciting. How you feeling about
not good, mate. Not good.
that?
The people who watch this channel seem to enjoy watching me not enjoying myself. So I'm sure they'll have a great time.
Oh, bless you.
I mean, we have spoke about doing like a Fakeamon episode at some point for the Patreon. And
Yeah, we got to have some patrons before.
Oh, well, believe me, if we do get some patrons, I feel like Bubsy will probably make a cameo in that because
All right.
yeah, I feel like you'd buy it if Bubsy was a Pokemon. They call it something like Jumper Cat
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the idea of that one. Maybe as like a birthday show or
Mm,
something unique and special, like an occasion.
yeah,
But I'm sure it will be very fun.
yeah. Well, believe me, he will get some spicy takes, as will Sonic the Hedgehog, who I imagine will find his
Hmm.
way in there. Um, I turned 33 since.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, Nothing.
Uh, I didn't receive any Pokemon based presents. Unlike yourself, I got absolutely bubkiss as far as that's concerned. Um,
I mean, that's not true. It just hasn't arrived yet.
oh well, there we go. There's a little.
Like I really wanted it in time for your birthday, just didn't fucking. And then like I looked at it, it's like, oh, delivery is like such and such. But anyway, if some Pokemon things arrive from you, they're from me.
Oh well, thank you, mate. Um, I look forward to showing them off on the next stream. There we go.
Speaking of, we have just this day, for those of you watching at home, decided when the next stream is going to be. We try and do these like maybe every couple of weeks so we can like stagger the actual releases of the edited podcasts and give us some time to like do our drawings, do any preparation we have to do, that sort of thing. But this month we both have a very busy month. Tom's going to be in Brighton for a bit. I am going away to Italy for a week,
Wow.
which I'm quite looking forward to. I'm just going to celebrate my friend's birthday, which is going to be fun. Which means the next time we're going to be available to do it is going to be the evening of Thursday, 1st of June. I'm going to pop a link to the Facebook event in the chat. Obviously, that will be, if you go to our Facebook page, you can see everything we've got booked in. We'll do some promotions so that you don't forget it's happening over the month. But yeah, that'll be that'll be coming up. Yeah, next month. Like looking at it, it feels like a really long time away, but I'm sure it will come rushing up afterwards. Where we'll be looking at Kakuna, Weedle, and Beedrill. To follow on from today's episodes, talking about Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. On that point, should we do the drawings?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, or shall I?
You can go first if you want.
All right, cool. Well, okay. So, I have gone full in on nostalgia, right? Right. I was saying to Kirsty before we started, right. One of the problems that I had, right. So, as everyone will know, because we do have people who do the competition themselves, the competition is that it must be drawn within 10 minutes. You have to do it from memory, and you have to add some colour, right? And we've been doing this enough now that I was like, right, I know exactly what I'm going to do for Caterpie. Caterpie, Metapod and Butterfree. And I had such a strong vision in my mind that I forgot to do them. It was almost as if I had it was almost as if my mind had gone, right, I can cross that off the list of things to do.
Do you do that thing where like you think about doing something so much that you don't realize you haven't done it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do that. So I fully get you. I fully get you.
Well, this here ended up being a rush, but I still managed to get it like exactly how I wanted to do.
Nice.
I'm going to upload the videos, as some of you'll know, because the videos on the YouTube. See, I think that they get more views than the amount of subscribers we've got. So either people are watching them loads, or people are coming across them. So that's really nice. But I decided to go hard on nostalgia with this. So I'm not going to say what this is a reference to. But I'm guessing that you'll know what it is a reference to. So this is it.
All right, yeah, I know what that is. That's the fight between Ash's Caterpie and Team Rocket, isn't it?
Indeed, it is. This is Jesse's
is...
Ekans.
Yeah.
So that's
I love it.
That's what I decided to go with. Doing a string shot. I was pretty happy with that.
I think that looks really good. So
thank you.
Mine, I did not know what I was going to do for mine. I really thought, but then I thought like, what I like about Caterpie is how cute it is. So I thought I'd lean into Caterpie's like cuteness. I don't know if I did. I think I just did another fat Pokemon, but I do love the OG Fatso, so that's my Caterpie.
Oh, that is very, very cute.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like snuggling up against like a flower, but then like I couldn't be fucked to do the detail on the flower, so I just did a little fat Caterpie. But I quite like his little chubby bit. He's like ready to become a Metapod. I think he's like the hungry caterpillar that's eaten all of the berries on the forest floor.
Mate, that's a level 6 Caterpie if ever I saw one. So this is genuinely the first one that I've been like, oh, I feel like either of our drawings could win the contest. Because after the episode, we upload the drawings for people to vote on, and whichever one wins becomes the thumbnail for the podcast episode. So, should I go next, or do you want to go next with your Metapod?
Go ahead with your Metapod.
Okay, well, again, I decided to go hard on nostalgia, and again, I said on the little video that I made, I was somewhat predicting that you might do a similar drawing, so this is what I went with.
No, I know exactly what that is. Again, that's Ash's Metapod battle against the Bugcatcher Samurai dude. Yeah, I get that one. I actually went in a very different direction with it, because I thought that like Metapod is not the most exciting Pokemon. It'd be really easy for this drawing to end up just looking a bit blah.
Yeah.
So I went with the sleepy Metapods that you get hanging off the tree in Pokemon Snap, because I thought that was really adorable. I really liked that scene, so this is mine.
Very nice.
Like a whole little scene of like Metapods hanging off the tree having a little sleep.
That is pretty cool. Although that's not because I considered doing a Pokemon Snap Metapod as well, but that's not the initial Metapod that I think of. I think of them when they are in the trees and you can like throw a Pestiball at them and they drop down. So I would have gone down that route. So I'm assuming, because I've still not finished it, that is from the new Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, new Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
The Switch one.
Pretty sick.
They're in the forest hanging from the trees, and they just like hang from the trees at night, and they're really cute. And so yeah, that's what I thought would be interesting, because I don't feel like Metapod necessarily lends itself to a great action shot, or like a great kind of face like emotion shot the way some of the others do. So I thought sleepy metapods in a tree, make it a bit of a scene.
Yeah, that's nice. So,
Yeah, I'm not pleased with how it came out.
mate, I'm like this could be this could be neck and neck. Do you want to go with your Butterfree or shall I go with mine? I'm not gonna lie, Butterfree for me, drawing wise, is a big step down from the previous two.
Yeah, I feel like as I was doing mine, I really thought like Butterfree's got stuff going on with its wings
Mm.
that it's like, you know, when you go, yeah, I know what a 20p looks like, then you go to draw a 20p, don't know what any of the details on it
Mm.
are, because your brain like filters out that information as unnecessary.
Mm.
Um, I think that's how I felt about Butterfree's wings. So I just kind of like gave it just some little like highlights that I don't know if they're accurate, but I think it come out looking cute. And I don't know why I did this. I think I was again going for like the episode nostalgia
Yeah.
one. I didn't want to just straight up draw like Ash's Butterfree with the thing around its neck and the pink
Mm.
Butterfree. But when I think of Butterfree, I do think of that like
Yeah.
very intense, emotional, like lovey episode. So I have done two Butterfrees.
Oh, I very nearly did that.
Yeah. And as I was doing it, I was getting up to like 9.5 minutes, and I was just like scribbling in the sky around it so that I was getting it done in the time. And then I was like, why have I fucking done this? I could have just drawn the one Butterfree and been done half
Mm.
the time ago. But I got there in the end. I could have done one better Butterfree,
Yeah.
and I did sort of two sort of averagey Butterfrees. You know they're Butterfrees, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I went through a similar thought process, right? And again, for anyone who watches the video, you can see the thought process that I go through. But so I went for this, which is an action shot. It's doing sleep powder on a little slowpoke down here, and what I thought was I could do Ash's Butterfree because I think that's like an iconic episode with the pink Butterfree, and then I was like, well, I'd be in the same position as yourself where it's like I might do two slightly less detailed Butterfree versus one more detailed one. You know, and I'm saying that as if this is a Van Gogh, right? but I then was like, okay, do you know what? What could be cool is if I do like silhouettes of Butterfrees up here in the background, and then have Ash like waving goodbye down here. But then I was like, I feel like that might be cheating, so I decided to go for. I knew that if I was going to go for an action shot, it was going to be dropping some form of spore down.
Yeah.
And then, so I dropped all this down, and then I had about 3 minutes left, and I was like, right, I need a vaguely easy Pokemon to do down here, which is why I went for a Slowpoke. I was going to go for a Snorlax, but I was like Snorlax is going to take up way too much like room, so that's why I've gone for this. I fully expect for this one to lose the competition.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We never know. Like, you know, everything is a matter of taste. So maybe people will appreciate the action shot. Maybe, you know.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
You can never predict how people are going to feel about these things.
Well, this is very true, and anyone who tries to predict is a utter fool. Before we go into the next bit as well, I think it's also worth mentioning that we are going to do a little feature tonight at around about 7:30 on Fab Radio International, promoting the podcast. So if anyone wants to drop in on that, that'll be at about 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Yeah. Right.
That sounds like so much fun. I'm really looking forward to getting some noise out, getting some noise happening.
Yeah, mate. So, should we go into the app?
Let's do it.
Oh,
let's do it.
So one final thing. You may have noticed all the new overlays. Those are all Kirsty's overlays. and I think that they look like way better. But I also wanted to like highlight the background behind us right now has changed to Viridian Forest.
It has indeed. I
Yeah.
think it looks it's come out looking quite good because like when you do it just like in the InDesign file, you never actually know what it's going to look like on the stream. You can hope for the best, but I think it's come out nice. I think like it's not like obviously that is Viridian Forest 3 times because Viridian Forest is like tall and narrow rather than lengthways. But all things considered, I think it looks all right.
Yeah.
It looks all right.
Yeah. So, right, let's go into it. Caterpie.
Caterpie.
Right. I feel like everybody and their mum has owned a Caterpie at some point.
Yeah, it's like one of the easiest Pokemon to catch. Um, like you find it very early on. It's like a good like early trainer Pokemon to get you into the habit of, you know, using different Pokemon. I feel like for like it's really easy to get it and it not be particularly good against the other bug types around you, and then you'll run into like a Pidgey or a Spearow and it's just fucking useless. And to like underestimate it a little bit. I tend not to keep my bug Pokemon that I catch early game, but I do catch them all. I am very um like committed to filling the Pokedex, completing the Pokedex, and I like to do it as early as possible. So I end up getting quite over leveled by the time I get out of Viridian Forest because I'll get a Caterpie and a Weedle, and I will just fight Metapods and Kakoonas until they're fully evolved. And then I can stop worrying about them as soon as I get to the next Pokemon Center. I can like dump my new Beedrill and my new Butterfree in favor of something that I'm gonna use more long term. Um, but yeah, so that's my approach to raising Caterpie, which is like not ideal if you're a particularly emotional Pokemon trainer. But yeah, I'm very much like yeah, level it up, dump it
Yeah.
type of person. Yeah.
I see. I'm somewhat the opposite in that what I generally do is I'll have a Pokemon on my team, and then I feel when it's starting to kind of fall behind, that's when I'll like swap it out.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree, but also Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill, because if I remember correctly, they are version exclusive. Like Butterfree's in red and Beedrill's in blue, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But they are really good. They're really good at, I think, teaching you the mechanics really early on.
Yeah.
Like you'll catch one, it'll evolve really quickly, and then it'll evolve again really quickly, and it'll actually be like relatively powerful for when you take on Brock. But
Yeah,
then,
that's true.
yeah, because especially if you've picked up like a Charmander, like that's probably
Yeah.
gonna be like that's probably actually gonna be your main in Brock's gym should you have picked up Charmander. But also I think that if I'm right, because you can also pick up a Pikachu in Viridian Forest as well.
Yeah.
Which again
They're
won't be able
quite
to do anything.
rare to find, but they are there. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I discovered one by chance back when I was younger. I remember being like, "Oh, this is Pikachu. This is like the main one," and then from that point on, whenever I would go and replay Red and Blue, because I'd go back and revisit them like every couple of years.
Yeah.
I would hang around in Viridian Forest until I encountered a Pikachu. So I'd come across a lot of Caterpies, and I would have one on my team at this point. But like I say, I would evolve it, and then I'd probably keep it on my team until it kind of. I'm guessing, because I obviously didn't make a note of this at the time, but I'm guessing that I'd have probably kept it around about the point that like my starter evolved into its end form, and then I would have
Yeah.
likely noticed, like that, like Blastoise, Charizard, and Venusaur are doing like a lot more damage than Butterfree. So therefore, I would have like
Yeah.
swapped it out at that point. But yeah, I think that they're a really good like metaphor for how the game works. You know, you're going to catch them, they're going to evolve, and then you're going to eventually swap them out, and that is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that is I think a fair assessment because like they are um yeah, they're nice like easy Pokemon to learn what you're doing with.
Mm.
And also I feel like they are good for like leveling up your early team. I feel like maybe the cocoon based Pokemon are obviously easier to level up your team
Yeah.
because they basically don't attack you back. But I do tend to find that yeah, the Caterpies um they tend to fuck you up a bit less than the Weedles because they don't have Poison Sting,
Mm.
which I think is a a more challenging move to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, but I think yeah, you can get some really interesting. You can figure out your way pretty early on. I think Caterpie is a good
Mm.
sort of stepping stone for like knowing where you're going.
Yeah. I also don't think it's a coincidence that they have like state that I feel like they're quite heavy on the status attacks, and like that's not necessarily been something that I've ever been that particularly interested in, but the fact that it's
Yeah,
got well, in Caterpie's case, like string shot, but will eventually go on to get like poison powder, sleep powder. Um,
yeah,
um, what's the one that gives it paralysis? Stun spore. Um,
Stonespore.
so yeah, I think that if you go down that route again, so for me, like doing the kind of research for this episode, kind of made me like respect them a little bit more because I think that they have been designed in order to teach you the mechanics, and I think that they do actually teach you really quite well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's like a good Pokemon to encounter to like think about like some strategy a little bit and to think about um how you're going to approach the game
Mm.
as you come up against sort of more, powerful, more complex enemies.
Mm. Yeah. Um, so like I say, I've had Caterpies. You've had Caterpies, and you often like dump them. But
Mm-hmm.
like I'm guessing that yours will be the same as me. That my main kind of memories of Caterpie are from the anime.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Ash's Caterpie, like given it doesn't stay for like a huge amount of time, all things considered, when you think about how many episodes there are, it really does like uh leave an effect. Like it lingers with you. It has a really clear story. It has a lot of character to it.
Mm.
Like I like um Misty is scared of bugs and hates it and is horrible, but then like Caterpie likes her anyway,
Mm.
and Ash sticks up for it. I feel like in that episode, both Pikachu and Caterpie are kind of dicks to Ash because I know he's not like a great trainer at this point. He's still learning. But he regardless, like he's unconditionally supportive of Caterpie, and when Misty's a dick to Caterpie, like Ash has its back,
Mm.
which I think is like a key thing for like a trainer to do. Like it shows he's not just about the battling, he's about like developing a relationship with this Caterpie. Um and I think like he makes some mistakes. Like he sends Caterpie out against fucking Pidgeotto. He really probably shouldn't have sent Caterpie out against Team Rocket because like it is like it really that episode where Caterpie fights Team Rocket gave me like a really misconstrued idea of how good a move String Shot was going to be. Like it absolutely fucks them both up. and in the game it does nothing.
Mm.
Like and I was like, why isn't it? Why is my string shot not having the effect of the Ashes did in that show? Why is my string shot so fucking useless? Um, but yeah, this will not be the only time that the show and the game differ in a way that really fucks me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah, Ash's Caterpie for like a little bug has some like really good character points,
Mm.
some really like cute emotional moments, like the bit where, they're sitting under the stars and Pikachu's comforting Caterpie is just adorable. And he has some like decent battles as well, like
Mm.
some decent challenges.
Mm.
Yeah, but mainly the Team Rocket one, but not exclusively. And I like the way that like you see like Caterpie sitting on Ash's shoulder, and I just think that's adorable. That's a lovely, lovely little moment
Mm.
that I think does kind of encapsulate what like Pokemon the series is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about those like relationships and stuff, which is very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it develops a lot of like maybe like with the games they kind of looked at this as from kind of a kind of practicing and kind of exploring standpoint of being like, okay, let's, because we're going to have this Pokemon here for like a short period of time, let's maybe look at giving it a character arc, and also like what you say, to see what we can do with not only Caterpie's character arc but also Ash's character arc as well, because
Yeah.
because this is almost a strengthening and an evolution of how he is with Pikachu in terms of how he supports his Pokemon, but also how he is more about like developing connections with them versus being like this all powerful lance type Pokemon trainer, which I think some
Yeah.
people, when they hear like Pokemon Master, that's kind of what they imagine. But actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that maybe from it probably works better from like a character narrative standpoint, that actually the route that he takes is probably the route that you should actually go down if you want to be a master, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And I do, and I think we said this before when we were talking about the kind of comparisons between the way Ash approaches Pokemon and the way Gary approaches
Mm.
Pokemon, where Gary goes for like quantity of Pokemon and has a very kind of superficial approach to which ones he wants.
Mm.
Whereas Ash has these like really close, solid relationships with his Pokemon, and I think you can really see that in his story with Caterpie, because Caterpie being the first Pokemon he catches himself, it's like really sweet just how absolutely delighted he is
Mm.
that like he's caught the Caterpie, like he's so excited,
Mm.
and it's just you see that kind of like joy come through
Mm.
in a way that is yeah, really, really indicative of like what it means for him to be a Pokemon master.
Yeah, and you touched on it before. It also is an element of them exploring Misty's character arc as well, and exploring
Yeah,
her.
yeah, definitely. Because like obviously she again very superficial reaction to Caterpie. She just want doesn't want to be around bugs, that sort of thing. That's
Mm.
which is fair. I don't like bugs really. Like I like, but Caterpie's like really big. I feel like I wouldn't be scared of a bug that was like this big. I feel like my issue is that bugs are really little and I don't want them to like crawl inside my mouth while I'm asleep. Um,
And that's where
is
we differ, mate. Because you saying that, right? I don't like spiders. Do not like 'em.
yeah,
Like if someone was like, "Oh, the issue with spiders is that they're tiny," and it's like, no, 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 no. If they were huge, it would be worse.
I get that, but like where they have you get like a tarantula and like you go to the zoo and they let it sit on your hand and stuff. I
Mm.
would rather have like that tarantula on my hand and then put it back in its like case. Because like that tarantula, I might be like, oh, that's a weird animal, but I wouldn't be like, if I'm not paying attention, that might crawl inside my ear, you know? Which I have like that is the thing that icks me out about small things. The idea that it will just crawl inside me somehow.
Mm.
And like I know it doesn't happen because like spiders that are small enough to get in your mouth are like scared of your breath.
Yeah.
So when you breathe out, they run away from like the hurricane that just came at them. Like they do not go in your mouth. It's entirely a myth that people eat spiders in their sleep. But it got into my head
Do you know what?
that like Caterpie's like this big. He's not crawling in my ear hole. He's just gonna sit comfortably, you know? Like so anyway, what I'm saying is Misty is being silly and irrational and I'm not.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think yeah, the way that she learns to accept Caterpie, I mean she still gets the ick after it evolves a bit. Um, but like the way that she does gradually get over it
Mm.
again is nice. It is nice to see. Like she learns a lesson about being a bitch. Um, although there is something, to worry about in terms of did she only get over it because like Butterfree's a cute little butterfly rather than an icky little bug. I
Mm.
don't know.
I think that there is some elements of that. Um, I kept on thinking to myself. So first of all, you telling that story, it reminded me of one time. Right, so I've been afraid of spiders for a number of years now, and
Yeah.
and you telling that story of like having a spider on your hand, right? It reminded me of one time when I was at the zoo, right, and I didn't want to go into the insect house, right, and I went, and I was like told, okay, no, it'd be fine, it'd be fine. I can't remember if I was there with anyone, like if I was there with like school or my parents or whatever, but I've talked myself into going into this insect house on my own, right, and I went in, right. I'm okay around most insects, but not spiders, right? Come across this spider,
Mm-hmm.
I'm immediately like, oh my god, this is awful, this is awful, and then right, I went, no, this is fine. I'm being brave, and I've talked myself into coming in here, and I was like, and the reason why I've been able to talk myself into coming in here is because I know that they're all behind glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went, did you hear that, Mr. Spider? I went, you're behind that glass, and I'm out here. And I went, you're in there, and I poked the glass, and the glass fell through. And then they had to close down the insect house.
Oh no! Oh, that's mad. Oh no.
So yeah, but yeah, something I was considering. I was considering waiting until the Metapod episode to bring up, but I feel like I might as well do it now, right? So I don't know if you know this, but Pokemon is inspired by, I believe, Satoshi Tajiri, who came up with the idea of Pokemon because he was into bug collecting back when he was younger.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Caterpie has had this much kind of thought put into it, and the Caterpie line has had this much thought put into it because it is so based on the core idea of how it spawned.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And yeah, no, I think you can see a little bit of that by like the fun designs of the bug type Pokemon
Mm.
because the first generation does not have the most imaginative designs. And anyone who's like, oh, first generation of Pokemon was the best, and then they just didn't know what they were doing. Got a bunch of eggs. It's got a ball and a bigger ball. It's got a lump of sludge and a bigger lump of sludge. It's called a seal. That's just called seal. Like they really did not put a lot of imagination into it. And I think you can kind of see, like I know, you know, these were not the earliest designed ones, but you can see the influence
Mm.
of like real world bug catching in the bug types. Like I think the bug catcher trainer types as well are some of the most memorable.
Mm.
They kind of like they're quite early on and they're quite consistent and um they make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I think that this is the first one that we've come across that is like very rooted in the real world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like you can. I mean, it's almost called a caterpillar. Like that's how
Yeah.
rooted it is to the real world. But and like Butterfree is almost called butterfly. Like it's so
Yeah. They're not the newest they're not the most I mean yeah, none of them are that imaginative.
yeah.
Like I don't care. I don't care.
But in
People who
terms,
people who complain that Pokemon isn't imaginative just like never paid attention to Pokemon in the first place.
mm,
It was never imaginative. You were just a child that didn't mind.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you remember back when we did the predecessor to what this podcast became, when we did the initial Pokemon stream, like 2 years ago, maybe more
Yeah.
now.
More now, I think.
Yeah. Oh god, I'm getting older. But I remember my spicy take because there was like an element of that where you had to do like spicy takes.
Yeah.
Of being like every generation that's come after Generation 1 is like better than Generation 1, and that's purely because Generation 1, like everything else, builds on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else does build on it, and I feel like there are some things that wreck on it a little bit.
Mm.
Um, but I think for the most part they do stay fairly consistent,
Yeah. And
which is
like
cool.
and yeah, what you said about like the designs, like they do become like much more imaginative like later on. Like even our Trubbish, who's the mascot of the podcast, I think gets unfairly shat on.
Yeah, yeah, he does.
Mm.
I think he definitely does because like people who are going like, oh, it's like a sentient bag of rubbish. Like Grimer wasn't a sentient lump of pollution.
Mm.
Like it is consistent with the sort of logic introduced with Generation One.
Yeah.
Speaking of, he is still right here, I promise.
Oh, smashing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what I was going to say. My very long-winded point that I was trying to make is, like I don't know how much influence the show writers had from, the games writers and like Satoshi Tajiri, but it wouldn't surprise me if the reaction that Misty had with Ash, who in Japan, as I'm sure you may know, but for the viewers who may not, Ash in Japan is called Satoshi, which is named after the person who came up with it. Like the way that Misty reacts with Caterpie and Ash stroke Satoshi would not surprise me if that was a similar reaction that he had faced at some point. Like collecting bugs as a child, and this kind of them like Misty getting more kind of okay with it as it becomes Butterfree, as it becomes a butterfly. Like it wouldn't surprise me if that was a similar arc that a lot of people went on with that hobby for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I think like because it's also the collecting side of things for him was a bit like a special interest for him
Mm.
as well. And like I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of sense of feeling othered is something he wanted to like pull through into this so that other kids who went through similar stuff like that
Mm.
um like felt seen.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was like a conscious decision.
Yeah, I'll tell you one other thing as well. When I think about the kind of meta, kind of what's going on around the kind of games mechanics in terms of
Yeah.
how we experience it as like fans. I think we spoke about it on a podcast before, but it's been confirmed that the types came in relatively late in terms of the development of the games. And it wouldn't surprise me, like what we were saying about how the bug types are quite detailed and kind of fleshed out. That if that was the way that it was designed, that the bug type Pokemon were some of the first ones to kind of come in, or at least be kind of conceptualized, given that they've got this as the inspiration, and that bug type's not going to come in until later, and it does unfortunately get kind of it gets the legs cut out from underneath it. Like, there's not very many, in my opinion, good bug types, but
I think there are now. Like, I think in the beginning you sort of had Butterfree and Beedrill,
yeah,
where I guess your two core bug types in the first games. But then you had like Scyther, which was very cool.
yeah,
And I think like as it went on, you got a lot of like bug types that you got your standard 3 evolution, easy to evolve starter bug type, which usually grew into something that was like a decent um early game addition to the team, but you likely wouldn't stick with it.
mm,
But then you got like later, much more powerful bug types that just had like no evolutions, just a one-off,
mm,
and that's where you get like your Scyther and your Heracross. Um, and then later on you get like Galissapod, and you got like, is it Venipede,
mm,
which is again a really powerful, good bug type.
yeah,
And I really like Galvantula. I think Joltik and Galvantula are absolutely fantastic Pokemon.
mm,
I know it's going to be fucking years before we get to talking about them properly, but like once upon a time I got like a shiny one in a Wonder Trade, and I added it to my team straight away, and I just loved it. I didn't expect it to be that good. Like, I dumped my Luxray and replaced it with Galvantula because I think you're right when you say there's not like loads of great bug types, especially not in the early generation. So I wasn't used to having a bug type on my core team.
mm,
And I think it was probably Galvantula that changed that for me because I thought the bug electricity one was quite an interesting
mm.
combo.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
yeah, I've
mean,
gone way off topic.
well, I had a similar thing with again. I want to say it was the predecessor to what this podcast became, but I've definitely told you on a stream that I've had a Vikavolt as like one of my mains, and
Yeah.
I think Bug Electric is like a very good combination, and but yeah, I do. I think in the first generation, like, Bug type is not that great. In terms of like, you probably will swap it out quite quickly, and then the later ones, that come along, your Pinsir and your Scyther, like, I mean, like, they are very good, but I think that by the point that they come back along, it is potential, or at least it was for myself, to have your team kind of quite fleshed out at that point, and then
Yeah.
actually finding a slot for them then becomes, I think, difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is fair. And like, I understand why you can't catch them like too early on, because otherwise you just have a really overpowered Pokemon on your team. Because if you get like the ones that don't evolve at all tend to have like better stats because otherwise you would never use them.
Mm,
And yeah, if you got them too soon, it would be too too easy to like, they'd be a bit
mm,
overpowered. But it is also a shame that like having them slotted in later means that you've probably got the better part of your team, and it's probably not wise to sit there and be like, no, I'm waiting for a Scyther.
mm,
I'm waiting for a Pinsir, whatever.
yeah,
Unless you've been hanging on to like a Butterfree, for instance, knowing you're going to swap it out for a more powerful bug type Pokemon,
mm,
but that's just going to be your bug slot for now.
yeah.
Don't know.
I mean, I
It
do
all depends on
sometimes
how
do
you
that.
approach it.
Yeah, I do sometimes do that. So, like, sometimes, I don't know if you do the same. Like, I'll go into a game and I'll be like, okay, this one I want to have like a kind of psychic heavy team or like a ghost heavy team or I might go, okay, this one I'm gonna have all flying maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of your regular playthrough that I feel like most people do, like most people will pick themselves up a fire, they'll pick themselves up a water, an electric, and this is not taking into account if you dual type, but you'll probably have yourself a flying, and you'll probably have yourself maybe a ground, and then that sixth one is probably going to be a psychic or a ghost, and then I think it's really difficult to then stick bug back into that team, given how rounded the rest of your team has become.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, should we have a look at the Dex entries?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okie doke. Well, here we go. Let's see if it's kicking off again. So we got red, blue. Its short feet are tipped with suction pads that enable it to tirelessly climb slopes and walls, which to me makes it sound more like a slug.
Yeah, it does a little bit. Do caterpillars climb walls normally?
I feel like I wouldn't question it if there was a. Although having said that, if it was like a 1 foot Caterpie, if it was like a 1 foot caterpillar, how big are they? Let me just scroll up to the top and find out how big it is. It is 1 foot, so I suppose if you had
that's bigger than I thought it was. How big is Ash? Because Caterpie sits quite comfortably on his shoulder, and he's 10 years old. Has he got like a foot long shoulder?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot going on, hasn't he? He's been 10 for 25 years.
That is true. And have you seen the episode where he picks up the Larvitar? Which is supposed to weigh 100 tons, and then it's just fucking hell, man, is this child ripped?
Yeah, he never skips leg day, does Ash? You know what? I was thinking about Ash on the way to this podcast. You know, I say this as if I walked somewhere for it, right? But I was thinking about how kind of Ash, he's his body must be absolutely he sleeps outside every single day, he must be he must have just a skeleton made of adamantium at this point because of how battered he is from his Pokemon journey. And I don't feel like they ever really address it.
No, they do not. It's not a particularly consistent show, is it? Let's be honest.
No, it is not. So I'm just gonna. There we go. Just in case anyone wanted to.
All right. So a lot of these, starting with yellow.
Yeah.
If you touch the feeler on top of its head, it will release a horrible stink to protect itself.
Yeah.
And then gold, for protection, it releases a horrible stench from the antenna on its head.
I want to know what the smell
Stadium is. 2 is the same. Ruby and Sapphire, from its antenna, this Pokemon releases a terrifically strong odor. I did not clock Caterpie as a stinky Pokemon until now. I don't feel like it was made clear that Caterpie fucking smells. That didn't happen in the show. It doesn't have any smell-based moves.
It doesn't. No.
I feel like I get why Misty didn't like it anymore. If she was going oh, get it away from me, it fucking stinks. That's a whole different ball game to just, ooh, icky bug. She's if they'd shown a bit where she was oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot, and she reaches out to pat it on the head and its antenna lets out a cloud of stink, then I'd get it. They could have used this so much better. This is just completely just feels like it's come way out of left field. No one told me up until now that Caterpie fucking hums.
I tell you what though, if I'm right, doesn't red and blue come out before yellow? Red, well, of course it does. Doesn't the anime come out before yellow?
Maybe. Don't know.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago, and I was 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure yellow comes out after the anime. It's inspired by the anime. So that's a later addition that they were right, well, we need to come up with a reason why Misty don't like Caterpie. And it is adorable. What can we do? Let's make it stink.
Well, no, she just said she doesn't like icky bugs. That's fine. She can just not be into bugs, which I feel like is, something a lot of people don't like bugs. It's fine.
Yeah.
That was.
I tell you this, right? I was aware of it because, as you can see from my image, that's not a string shot. That is just
That's
really
a stink shot.
Yeah, that is halitosis.
I like the stadium one has thrown me a little bit.
Oh, is it still kicking off for the stadium professor?
Yeah, this stadium professor's a fucking renegade. It has large eye-like patterns on its head as protection. They are used to frighten off enemies. Now, I don't know about you, but those like big Puss in Boots eyes are not scary. They're adorable. Like, and also, is that not its eyes? How does it see?
Yeah.
If this is an eye-like pattern, where is its eyes?
To be fair,
I know he's got these down the side, these circles, which I would not call them eye-like because they're not very like its eyes.
Yeah.
But like, what does it see out of if that's just a pattern? Like, did this professor know this, or did it see a Caterpie and be like, I'm not getting too close to that stinky bug? Maybe that's not a real eye. I'm gonna write that down. So it looks like I know something no one else does. Everyone else is going to look at it and be like, eyes. And he's like, nah, that's not an eye. That's a pattern that looks like an eye.
Yeah. He's like, look at that Pokemon there that is terrified. And it's just like, no, that just looks like it's like it can't stand how stinky this bug is. No. It's due to the scary head pattern.
Scary eyes.
But having said that, right, if you are right, so I want to show you something that me and you consider to be very cute because it's just occurred to me that they are in here.
I'm intrigued.
Right. So this here to me and you is absolutely very cute. But should you be one of the neighborhood local pigeons, this here would look absolutely terrifying. Regardless.
But like, all right. So what do Caterpie prey upon? Because it doesn't need to be scary. It's not a predator. It eats like leaves and shit, innit?
Yeah, but like if you're an oddish that's having your leaves off your head eaten, like maybe that is terrifying for you.
Maybe that is terrifying.
Not only am I having my leaves eaten off my head, but it's been done by this stinky ass bug.
Stinky bug with fake eyes.
Well, I mean, as we know, the stadium professor is an absolute G. He speaks it like it is.
I feel like he has been like stamped down a little bit. By the time it gets to Stadium 2, he's just talking about the same horrible stench as everyone else.
Yeah.
I feel like he got silenced.
They were like, is your source on this credible? And he was like, well, I don't really want to have a look at it. And they were like, right, you're just going to have to stick to how much it stinks. Alright.
Yeah, and then a lot of it feels very sensible. Like, sticky feet, we've got more of. It climbs trees to forage, crawls into foliage and camouflages itself among leaves the same colour as its body on crystal.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I tell you something that has jumped out at me. Right, Ruby Sapphire, right, has a voracious appetite, so that like links into your drawing.
My little chunky boy.
Yeah, but it says it can devour leaves bigger than its body right before your eyes, and we already know that it is 1 foot in size. But then,
so how big are these leaves?
Yeah, so it must be 1 feet and 1 inch plus. But the thing that I think is interesting, right? They've gone. Well, we could do this about like how much it eats, but Nah, we got to mention how much it fucking stinks again.
Yeah. Maybe it's eating stinky leaves, and that makes the smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that that if you have sprouts, it's gonna come back to haunt you. Maybe that's what's going on with Caterpie.
I am getting very hungry caterpillar vibes from Caterpie, from the little chunkster. It pretty much sticks with those two core points. It's a hungry boy, and it's got sticky feet and a smelly head.
Yeah, we've got
it changes it up a bit at Sun and Moon. When attacked by bird Pokemon, it resists by releasing a terrifically strong odor from its antenna, but it often becomes their prey. So I guess the stink doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, pretty useless defense mechanism, and it was just like, if someone tries to eat it, it's like, don't eat me. I've gone off. I smell bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just lumpy milk at this point. And then the bird Pokemon are like, nah, din-dins.
Yeah. Whereas a nose pass is like keep me away from all fucking Caterpie at all times.
Nose pass is going, please eat that stinky little cunt. I do not want it. Do not want it near me. Imagine if like Pokemon was this detailed. They was just like randomly, like you randomly had an advantage. Like if it had that like extra element of this Pokemon has like smell type moves, and Nose Pass being a nose is weak to scent type moves. Particularly like particularly sensitive to like sweet scent and things. Can Caterpie learn sweet scent? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's have a very quick look.
I'm really starting to feel bad for Caterpie. Like Moon makes a point that we made earlier. It's easy to catch, grows quickly, making it one of the top recommendations for novice Pokemon trainers. That came up in our discussion a lot more than its stinky face.
Well, what I think we've discovered is that smell type should be a new type.
Should be a thing. Next typing should be smell.
Yeah.
Although people have been saying that sound type should be a thing for a long time, and I can see the logic because you've got like Exploud and like Noivern, those things which do have like and also like lots of moves are sound type. Like Screech has been a thing since the beginning. Like I could see that slotting in quite comfortably. I don't know where it would fit in terms of its like type advantages and its relationships to other types, but I think there is an argument for that to fit into the canon.
Sound type and smell type, yeah.
The Pokédex entry for Ultra Moon makes me feel really bad for Caterpie. Its body is soft and weak. In nature, its perpetual fate is to be seen by others as food.
What?
Like, poor baby. And like, if you tie that into the one for Moon, it's easy to catch. Top recommendation for novice Pokemon trainers. Just think about all like the novice Pokemon trainers who go out with their freshly caught Caterpie and they're like, yeah, let's go out and do this, and then it immediately gets eaten by a Spearow.
I would have liked to see that episode. I tell you what though, to go back, right, I want to ask you, right, if we introduce smell type as a new type, right, which Pokemon are we giving smell type to?
Caterpie.
Yeah. Of course, he's the smelly boy.
And then I feel like Nosepass should be weak to smell type. Trubbish and Grimer could be smell type.
Yeah. Skuntank.
Skuntank. Yeah. Gloom.
Yeah.
Famously smelly Pokemon.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of poison types could be smell type. Now that I'm thinking about it, but then you could also get like Roselia. Could be like a pleasant smell type.
Yeah. Ivysaur, as we know from the deep dive on that.
Ivysaur. Yeah, with its smelly bush. Came felt worse than I meant for it to.
I remember you put a tweet out and it was like, since this episode and the last one, it was like, this is not a for kids Pokemon podcast, and I feel like we might have to put that out again soon.
Yeah, I reckon you could like retroactively make a bunch of Pokemon smell type.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that, like, Game Freak, who I know must watch this podcast. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Get on it. Smell type and sound type.
Sound type. All right. I think that's all of the Pokédex entries that have anything unique in it.
Yes, apart from like malting, I suppose. Right. Well, should we have a look at what Smogon makes of it?
Let's do that.
Right. Cool. So, we've got you can see it there. It's in the LC, which I think is the little cup, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is for
it's a first evolution. It's got low stats. If it has a shit move pool, like I did have a look at its move pool after I asked if it could learn Sweet Scent, because I feel like that would be, if it's got such a big thing about releasing smells, I think Sweet Scent would be a good thing for it to learn. It literally just learns Tackle, String Shot, Bug Bite, and it can learn Electro Web by TM, and that is it. Nothing else. That is it. That is absolutely all of the things. In the trading card game, it has Headbutt, but not in the actual like video game games. So I could not imagine, like, it literally doesn't get 4 moves. I can't imagine it being a good Pokemon to fight with.
Yeah. I think like, you would have to be particularly like, I love Caterpie in order to use it in the little cup.
You'd have to have like a team built around, I guess, maximizing the effects of Bug Bite.
Yeah.
I suppose, to be able to send out your Caterpie and it not just get immediately slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like its attacks are straight up shit. Like its special ability is run away for a reason.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can fucking hope for.
Yeah. Fucking stinks. Right. Shall we head into the break?
We have to give it our rating first.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? God, I was so excited. Do you know what? The thing is, right? I feel like we've gone into this Caterpie episode, and I was like, how much are we going to be able to talk about Caterpie? But now we know it stinks. There's loads. There's loads we can chat about.
We've just gone off on a tangent about smelly Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, my Trubbish rating that I'm going to give to Caterpie is, I think I'm going to give it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah, 3.
I was going to go quite a bit higher than that. I was going to give it a 6.
A 6?
Because it is a useful Pokemon in-game for learning how to train Pokemon.
Yeah.
No question. And I think, like, I would not use it on my team, but I have learned a lot from Caterpie. I have had a Caterpie in, like, every game you can get one because they're so easy to get. So Caterpie is one of the ones that I have plenty of experience with and memories of. Also, I think its story arc in the show is really good. Like, it's Ash's first Pokemon he catches by himself, and like, you learn a lot about Ash from that. You learn a lot about Misty from the arc that they have together, and I think that makes Caterpie really memorable because it is utilized so well in the narrative of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I feel like you put a good argument out there, because my initial thought was like, I went, right, what did I give the starters? And I was like, so it's an 8, and I don't think it's as good as them. So I was like, right, I need to drop it down, and I was like, how low can I go? But yeah, because of the anime, but also I think it was somewhat, it might have been somewhat influenced by the fact that the professor was like, it fucking stinks,
Yeah.
So maybe I
You're
dropped.
like, get
Yeah.
me away from this stinky Pokemon. I don't want it.
So
I
yeah,
feel a little bit bad for Caterpie. I like Caterpie, and I do feel a little bit bad for it that it's just soft and squishy and seen as food.
yeah. So I'm
But
actually
when
gonna jump mine up. I'm gonna jump mine
yeah,
up to a 5.
5. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair.
Because as well, like I didn't give it like a 1 because I was like, like there are some Pokemon that are definitely worse.
Mm,
So yeah, I think I'll go with the 5 for this.
yeah, that's cool. I get
Right,
that.
right. Let's go into the break. I'm gonna nip to the loo dead quick.
All right,
Right,
have fun.
thank you.
Um, I'm gonna tell the people watching at home what I've been up to.
Fabulous.
Um, I mean, personally, not loads. But I feel like I don't need to tell any of you. I've been doing a lot of admin for Blizzard recently. We just had our first preview last night, which was pretty cool. With Sam Serrano and Ryan Kenny, and they are both brilliant comedians who have a lot of time for, and who I'm really proud to be a part of their showcase for their new work in progress shows. Uh, oh, I'm so glad you were there. Let me know if you liked it, if it was good. Like, Johnny sent me some pictures from the back of the room, and it looked like a lot busier than I was anticipating. Our previews never do as well as our main shows. Um, so like I never know what to expect from them, but they are, really exciting projects to be a part of. We have our next live show coming up on the 9th of May. So that's Tuesday. That's tomorrow. With Pope Lonergan headlining, and he's absolutely amazing. I think he is just so funny. And we've got our next batch of previews on the 22nd of May. Um, and then finally, our tickets for our June show are live at the moment to patrons. Um, uh, I'm glad you and Richard were there. Bless you. I'm glad you were there, nice and early. um, I'm glad lots of people came in later. That's definitely a boon. So yeah, our live show for June tickets now available to patrons, featuring the absolutely incredible Jack Gledo headlining. Like, I have so much time for that guy. He is so talented. So I'm gonna pop the Blizzard out savvy page on in the chat. Uh and yeah, if anyone wants to check out those uh shows that we've got coming up, um, please do. It would be lovely to see more of your beautiful faces there. We've also got a lot of streams coming up on the Blizzard channel. Obviously, we've got, so this month we're not doing a broadcast avalanche because we've just had like the, I guess, broadcast avalanche anniversary, and instead of doing our regular stream, we're going to do like a highlight stream of all the shows from this year, which is going to be super fun. I forget when that was supposed to be, but it's just going to be up on our YouTube channel whenever that's ready. But that will be roughly the same time we would have had broadcast avalanche. So I am going to guess Monday 29th of May, because that is when broadcast avalanche would have been. um but we do have some digital content coming up. We have a chat on our Twitch stream with the absolutely fantastic Ben Hodge, just getting to know him, talking about his comedy career, because we had him on at Blizzard first, right at the beginning of our, I guess, our lifetime. He was like one of the very early people to be on it. And he is absolutely fucking crushing it. He's doing so well. We are so excited to see him grow. And yeah, we're gonna have him drop into a Zoom with Johnny and just have a little chat about like his comedy career, and his new show, It's a Boy. Um, so I'm gonna pop in the chat the Facebook event with details about Ben and when that's gonna be. So that's gonna be Friday, 26th of May on the Blizzard Comedy Twitch channel,
Mm.
which is going to be sick as hell.
Yes, got a lot of time for that boy. He's
Hmm.
absolutely love it. So yes, if you can support him, I very much recommend it. I'll also a big fan of Jack Leto. Such a nice guy. Um,
We got some good acts coming up, don't we?
you
We
do
got some
well.
good people.
I'll tell you what, right? I don't know if you've picked the clips that you're going to use, but the thing that I always remember from the Blizzard Avalanche is when Elliot Simpson played. Was it the Queen?
Yeah,
Oh, so funny! That
yeah.
that was so funny.
Elliot's amazing. I love him so much. I have so much time for that guy.
Yeah, like because I remember like for like the setup, because little behind the scenes, like it's like we often know like what kind of order we're gonna like go in for like the segments and stuff, and Elliot did that, and I knew I was after Elliot, and I was like, how do I cannot even follow that. That was like so so immensely funny.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that that's going to make its way into the highlights.
I feel like that is a good shout. Like I am not picking the highlights, Johnny is. But I would not be surprised if that made it because that was incredible, incredible bit of comedy.
Yeah, oh, so good. Um, right. So should we go into Metapod?
Let's do it.
Right, here we go. When Caterpie is better than Weedle, Metapod better than Kakuna, Beedrill better than Butterfree. I mean, I think it may. I may agree with that.
I don't know if I do. I
What?
think I think I think like Metapod and Kakuna, I guess I don't really care. They're equivalent. Beedrill and Butterfree have different advantages. Like they do different things. Like Butterfree can learn some psychic type moves, which is excited, like useful, cool, powerful to have early game. Um, as well as every status condition move. Um, so yeah, I think actually I would agree with that. No, I think Butterfree is better than Beedrill because it can like Beedrill focuses on poison type, which is fine. But Butterfree can have like psychic type, flying type, all of the status conditions. So if you want poison to be what you focus on, you can have um a poison type move. And I feel like it's more well-rounded. I think if you're just going for like bug and poison, Beedrill, but Butterfree is, I think, the better competitive. And Caterpie and Weedle, between the two of them, like Caterpie is like the weakest one that's just food, but Weedle can learn Poison Sting, which I think when you've got that, when you've got that, uh, like Poison Sting early game, I think that is a more useful thing to have when you're trying to get through Viridian Forest than Caterpie with its just useless tackle attack that every other Pokemon and its mum has. I do like this comment from Sam. I could fuck up a butterfly any day. I don't care if it's psychic. A bee, however, would beat me in a fight. Which, fair. I cannot fault that. Um, that is fair. Um, However, yeah, I feel like we might be examining these from like different criteria.
Yeah, my question is, as we've discovered, like a Caterpie is 1 foot in size. Could you fuck up like what I'm assuming will be a 2 foot butterfly?
I mean, yeah, it depends. Does it stun spore me before I get to it?
That's true. um, and like for me, like I don't trust myself to be able to hit a butterfly. Like they're too agile for me.
Yeah. Um, so I realize we're gonna get onto Butterfree later, but like the Bulbapedia entry for Butterfree says it's 3'7" and
Wow.
70 pounds. Like,
70,
What?
£70.
£70 butterfly. I mean, Sam is right. If it's big, you have more of a target. Like it is absolutely a bigger target. Um, like that's like the size of like a middle-sized child, right? And if you can, I reckon that is a big enough butterfree that you could probably just punch it. Like if it's £70 and it's got, as Sam points out, paper thin wings, like its body's got to be like pretty solid.
Mm,
Like you could just get like a punch in,
mm.
and it's like if a human was gonna fight it, obviously.
Or like a Hitmonchan.
No, because it can do like flying type moves and psychic type moves back at the Hitmonchan.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, a
So it's the
Snorlax.
same weight as an average child, and she could fuck up one of those two. Fair.
True.
That is fair.
True.
Yeah.
Mate, sometimes, right, when I'm out and about, right, like, and like kids are like running around, right, they're running around at about knee height, right, and
Yeah.
they're not particularly paying much attention, right, and
Mm-hmm.
I got stuff on, I've got, uh, you know, any day could turn from being quite nice to being horrific within a matter of seconds, as I have learned over 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm having one of those days where it's turned horrific, right, a child runs into my legs, and I happen to fall over it or knee it in the face, right, I'm the one who's going to get into trouble, and I don't feel like I should be the one that gets into trouble. And this is like a thought I often have, that it's like, if I fall over or accidentally knee these children in the face, like, I'm the bad guy.
How often are you like wading through children? That you think about this a lot. Sam says she agrees, so I guess I'm the weird one for not like walking around knee-height children all the time and kicking them.
Thank you, Sam. Am I glad I've got you? Am I glad I've got the confirmation that that's not that weird of a thought? And I'm not saying that not having that thought isn't weird, but I'm glad that I'm not the only one who has that thought. Right, should we go into Metapod?
Let's talk about Metapod. So, do you have any feelings about Metapod, Tom?
Right, I was thinking about this during the break, right? Right, I think that, again, everybody's had a Caterpie, so therefore everyone's had a Metapod, everybody's had a Butterfree. But, the more I started to think about it, the more I was like, actually, this is probably another element where I think that the game teaches you an element of it. And this is coming back from what we were talking about with the Caterpie episode, that if you it can learn tackle, and if you evolve it, your Metapod will know tackle. But if you catch a Metapod, it will only know harden. And it's almost like this kind of next level of teaching you the game, that if you keep your Pokemon and you evolve it, it will likely actually be advantageous versus catching the evolved Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. And that is something that like it does say a Pokemon raised trainer at the same level as a wild Pokemon will be more powerful. And I guess like the thought process behind that is that like it's got a more intelligent being there helping it to like, you know, develop and to grow and to like focus on particular skills. And to like make those choices that can make it the most powerful it can be rather than it just going about its day to day. And I do think that is like a really important thing that you get um with Metapod as a Pokemon. I think it's useful to learn about in that early stage of the game. And I also feel like another way that Metapod is useful is it's just really easy to grind against. Like if you want to like get your level up before you go off and challenge Brock, if like me, you catch your bug type Pokemon and then want them both to be fully evolved so you can dump them straight in a PC once you get out of the forest. Just yeah, Metapod after Metapod after Metapod. You know how it's gonna go. You're gonna win every time because they just use Harden until they use Struggle.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing as well that I think it teaches you. It's potentially the first time that you're going to come across shared experience across battles as well. So if you've got a Metapod, say if you've gone, oh that's a level 9 Metapod, I'm going to catch it and then in a level's time it's going to become a Butterfree. Catch it, send it out. It only knows Harden. You then have to take it back. You either have to keep on using it until it hits struggle, or what's probably more likely is that you'll take it back out, send your starter back out, and then recognise that both of them got XP for the battle. So again, it's probably like another lesson that they programmed into the game at this early point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like, although, yeah, because I remember playing my brother playing a Pokemon game, and he thought you could send a Pokemon out and it had to get a move in before it got experience. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And he would send out his weak Pokemon and they'd just get like slaughtered.
Mm.
And I'm like, you silly boy, just swap it out straight away. He thought it had to get like, yeah, at least one move in um before it gets its experience. But no, that is incorrect, Chewy.
So
Um,
the other thing that I think of, and I made reference to it in my drawing. I think that it's probably more iconic thanks to the anime. This particular episode, which if I'm not 100% certain on this, but I feel like it's probably the first time I can think of where the anime like actually properly took the piss out of the game mechanics. And like there probably was people who ended up in a Harden versus Harden battle.
and
And
like you just get to who has to struggle first.
yeah. So yeah, I mean they pick up on it, like they do the whole Ash sends out Caterpie against Pidgeotto, and Misty's like birds eat bugs, like so like that's like an element where they also kind of take the piss out of it a little bit, but I feel like that's like the first for me properly iconic moment of them doing like a big comedy moment in the show.
Yeah, yeah. Although I do feel like it is quite a funny show. Like it's got some decent banter. Oh, I don't know if I go so far as jokes, but like between like Ash, Misty, and Brock in the beginning, they're quite savage with each other sometimes. Particularly Misty and Ash, but then also like every time Brock fancies someone, they just absolutely like the bit where the girl's standing on the cliff and he's like, oh, she's so beautiful and it's going to be such a romantic way to meet. Um, and Missy's just like, oh, she's going to be so glad she's on that cliff because when she sees you, she can jump off. And it's like, that is fucking savage, Misty. What? You're 12 years old. When did you become so mean? But also, I love you. Like, I do feel like there are, like, the writing in the first season was all right. I feel like over the years, the show has definitely had its like peaks and troughs when it comes to the quality of the writing. Black and White season was terrible. But yeah, I think they had some decent bits in the first season of just comic gold.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've read a interview with Satoshi Tajiri, and he was saying about how like when the anime like took off, that's when he kind of realized like how big it was becoming. But
Yeah.
before that, in terms of what the anime was about to do, there was no guarantee that it would have gone beyond like the initial set of episodes. So they, from a writer's standpoint, as someone who does a bit of writing myself, there's like an element of going, right, we need to throw all the best ideas at this because we need to get them in now because we don't know if we're going to get another chance. And I think that the Metapod versus Metapod battle is like, for me, like such a good like comic bit.
Yeah. And like I love how like they're like both going, you can do it Metapod, you harden harder. It doesn't fucking matter who's gonna harden harder because like it's not attacking them in any way. Just one of them's gonna get tired out and then collapse. And Misty's standing there like, we're gonna be here for fucking years. Like, can you two both stop,
Mm,
please? And they were just both so stubborn about it. Like I did like the way that like the samurai bug catcher sent out a pincer first and Ash's Metapod beat it by hardening well enough that it like
mm,
broke its pincers. I thought that was quite interesting, and made a Metapod using Harden a more interesting battle to
mm,
watch than it really had any right to be. And again, similar to Caterpie and its string shot that fucked up all of Team Rocket's Pokemon, gave me a very inaccurate understanding of what that move could do.
mm,
Like I feel like when that Metapod used counter against that pincer, no, used Harden against that pincer, it behaved more like a counter.
mm.
Like, but oh well,
Yeah.
the show and the game don't make any sense.
Well, there's another one that there's another Metapod that like jumps out at me, which is the meta. I mean, there's two other I think somewhat iconic Metapods, right? But nowhere near as much as Ash's Metapod. Um,
Yeah.
so the first one that I think of is Pokemon Stadium, which has got a bunch of mini games in it, and one of
Hmm.
them is a Metapod mini game where have you played it, by the way, Pokemon Stadium?
Yeah, but not in a long time.
So there's this game where you play as a Metapod or a Kakuna, and if you and you've got to press A to harden, and there's like rocks being shot off in the distance that are going to land on
Yeah.
your Metapod, and if the rock hits you, it'll take out some of your life. So you
Hmm.
have to press harden so that the rock doesn't harm you, but pressing the A harden like saps your stamina. So you can't just like have harden on all the time. You've got to like time it for when you're about to get hit, and the one that doesn't end up like collapsing last is the winner.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think,
cool.
yeah,
That's a nice way to I think, yeah, make it a bit more interesting than it is in like the main series games.
yeah, like I think that if they moved away from turn versus turn combat, that would probably be a good way to kind of translate harden as a move that
Yeah.
you can do it as a shield, but it like saps your stamina. Um, but yeah, so that's one of them that jumps out at me, and the other one is from Pokemon Snap, same generation,
Hmm.
where where you can throw things at the trees and they like drop out the tree, for you to get like closer images, and then they like back up the string, back towards the tree like a spider. So those are the two kind of iconic Metapods outside of and of course
The ones in new Pokemon Snap. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, like I really like that as well, like them hanging from the trees in the rainforest. I think I do like that sort of like snapshot you get into their like natural habitat.
mm.
Yeah.
Is there any other iconic Metapods that jump out at you?
Um, if you're familiar with the Johto series, like we were talking about the like you see Metapods using Harden all the fucking time. But the Johto series, Bugsy, the gym leader, his Metapod used Tackle
Wow.
against Ash's Chikorita and Pikachu. So that I think ties into the games nicely in a way where like it shows you like if you have played the games and you know that you have to evolve your Caterpie into a Metapod for your
Mm,
Metapod to know tackle, it needs to be a trainer evolved Metapod for it to retain that. Then I think seeing a bug type gym leader use a Metapod effectively um was quite interesting. That was a pretty cool instance of a Metapod being in the show. Because it echoes that way of like if you're an accomplished trainer, you can make sure that your Metapod can do more than just harden.
mm,
And like Ash's Metapod didn't, but Bugsy's did. And I think that was quite like, don't get me wrong, their Metapod episodes were like a whole look, well, technically 2 seasons if you count the Orange Islands as a separate season, but like a whole season and a half apart. And but it's like an interesting parallel,
Mm.
I think. The way that like Ash at the beginning of his Pokemon journey had a pretty useless Metapod because like he didn't know how to properly train it to retain those
Mm.
moves that like we all do when we play the games.
Yeah.
But Bugsy being a gym leader, being a specialist in that type, did know how to do that. I
Mm.
think that's a pretty cool instance of a Metapod being in the show.
Yeah. Oh, I have had a thought, right? Because and I've not finished Pokemon Snap 2. My question to you is: those Metapod from Pokemon Snap 2 that you've put in your drawing, is there a way of getting them down off the trees, like in?
Yeah. So you can like throw stuff at them, and like they'll drop down, and like sometimes them dropping down will like trigger another Pokemon to come like hunt, sniffling around or whatever. And yeah, they also have the thing where like sometimes if you like, I don't know, I think I can't remember all of the exact mechanics, but if you play the music or throw stuff at them, they'll like drop down again on the silk and then pull themselves back up, which is pretty cool. They are very cute. And I like the way they like cluster together. I think that's, I don't know, there's something cute about it
Yeah,
for a weird looking bug.
I like the way that they are clinging to the tree in the image you've done,
Mm-hmm.
because like that's how like real like cocoons do it in like real life,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like clinging to the
Yeah.
tree. Um, so should we have a see what the Dex has got to say about them?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, oh, why does that happen? The one moment the ad blocker just pops back up, and it's like if I'd not fixed that, it would have just basically been a load of ads for total jobs, which which is not what this podcast is.
I am glad you got an ad blocker in finally.
Yeah, well, it was on the old on before we got these overlays. I was willing to put up with it, but then I can't have it be really small and be like trading 212. That is not my bag.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And also, like, I don't like the fact that Twitch plays an advert first, let alone um showing other people's adverts on our stream.
mm,
They can pay us if they want advertising done, and even then, I'll probably say no because I don't like capitalism,
mm.
and I would rather shoot myself in the foot.
That feels like a good little plug for the Patreon. If you would like to not see Kirsty shoot herself in the foot uh, and get some exclusive content, join the Patreon. I think that's the first advert for the Patreon we've done in the actual podcast. So we can only go up from here. Right, shall we have a look at the Pokédex?
Let's do it.
Right, so this Pokemon is vulnerable to attack while its shell is soft, exposing its weak and tender body. I feel like that's not a very grammatically good sentence from a professor.
How come? Like, it makes perfect sense.
Well, maybe I'd misread that, but like I think for me it's that the shell is soft, and it's like, well, like I don't initially imagine the shell being soft. Like,
No, that's the thing. Like the shell isn't soft, but like I guess while it's a young, just evolved Metapod that hasn't hardened much yet,
ah,
it's not like fully formed. And then it needs to, I guess, yeah, it prepares for evolution by hardening its shell as much as possible to protect its soft body and silver. So I guess it starts off with that like soft, squishy, gooey Caterpie body, and then like needs to like solidify the shell in order to like prepare to evolve. Because I guess, yeah, because it says exposing its weak and tender body. Um, uh, the when it hardens, only the external shell is transformed. The inside remains tender. Like, is everyone just cracking open metapods to like find out what's inside?
Yeah.
Because like we know a caterpie becomes a metapod, and it says it's by like spinning its silk around itself. So I guess it starts off as silk, the shell, and then it
Mm,
needs to solidify to become the full shell.
mm.
So yeah, I guess like freshly evolved metapods are weaker, obviously. They're like softer, they're more vulnerable to attack. But like literally all of these are like um a large impact may cause it to pop out of its shell. What does it look like outside of the shell?
Uh,
How do we not see this? Like, is it just because like inside a real cocoon, like the original caterpillar disintegrates into like gloop and then rebuilds itself? Is it like caterpie soup in there?
yeah.
And then it you know when you knock it out of the tree, it like cracks open. Um, yeah, gold inside the shell. It is soft and weak as it prepares to evolve. Um, prepares for evolution by hardening its shell to protect its soft body. So, okay. Crystal says at this stage it can only harden, so remains motionless to avoid attack. Guess.
Well, I mean,
Um,
my understanding of it was that the hardening, you know how in the anime they it kind of shoots a string shot up and kind of covers itself in a string shot.
yeah,
That the outside body's kind of made of whatever the silk is from the string shot.
yeah.
Uh,
And then it spends the time hardening the string shot to make sure it's yeah.
yeah. Uh, I, when we were talking about people like cracking open the shells and like what happens when the body can just kind of fall out like goop. I'm wondering because we already know that Caterpie stinks. Like, does inside the shell smell?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because like I imagine bug gloop is absolutely something that would stink, especially if it was a stinky bug in the first place.
Mm,
So inside the metapod is stinky bug gloop. Like
yeah.
whether or not that was intended, this is my headcanon now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining that they were really pranking the stadium professor, like, because we already know that he didn't like how fucking stinky Caterpie was. Like, I bet they were like, yeah, do you want to? Could the stadium professor? Could you just crack open that Metapod, just to see if the insides are still tender? And he's like, all right then. And then he's like, not only was it still tender, it fucking stank. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. I really don't like the kind of turn of phrase. They've used the phrase soft innards, which I don't know, just it feels icky. I don't like it.
Soft
It's
innards.
so like it feels like someone's like reaching into a metapod and like giving it a squeeze.
Do you know what I'm imagining the
Um,
soft innards to feel like? Did you ever go to like the seaside? I feel like these were like big things in like the 90s, like 90s and early 2000s. But you like saw them a lot at like the seaside, and it was like a tube that was like filled with like liquid, and it was like it had an outer tube and an inner tube, and if you squeezed it, like the inner tube like rolled out, and so you had this kind of continually kind of squishy tube. I don't know if you had that back when.
no.
I
No, I didn't have a squishy tube.
want to see if I can find them dead quick.
Gonna show us your squishy tube, are you, Tom?
Yeah, there it is. Squishy tube toy. This must be it. There they are. Is that showing them? That showing them on the stream? Did you never have these?
I'm still waiting for it to come up on the screen because I can't see it over the Zoom.
Oh,
Sam says she thinks she knows what you mean.
thank you. Honestly, Sam, you're just basically like validating all of my weird thoughts today, so I appreciate it.
Squishy tube toy. Did you? Is that? I can't believe that's actually what you like. You could have just straight up brought porn after this stream and got us deleted off Twitch.
This is probably
Okay.
the precursor to the fleshlight. To be fair.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, now we know what a squishy tube toy is.
Yeah. I
Um,
can't believe that you never had them.
I didn't have them. I think, right, getting back onto these, I feel like once we get onto Generation 3 and beyond, we've got back into that like pissing contest that the Pokemon professors are doing with their
Yeah.
um Pokedex
Yeah.
descriptions. Because up until then, it's just the shell. It hardens its shell. That's fair. Once it gets to Ruby, it's the shell covering this Pokemon is hard as an iron slab. Is it though? Is it? Like, Fire Red makes sense, encased in a sturdy shell. And then it can't withstand a harsh attack. If it can't withstand a harsh attack, is it really as hard as an iron slab? But then Diamond and Pearl's going back in with the dick swinging, calling it a steel hard shell. It quietly endures hardships while waiting evolution, which
Don't we all?
honestly,
Don't we all?
fair dues. What a stoic, lovely Pokemon. Um, Steel hard shell on like Black and White and Black and White 2. Steel hard shell on X. Hard as an iron slab again on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I just got to Sun. I just got to Sun.
Oh, go on.
And it's straight up gross. So its shell is filled with soft innards. It doesn't move much because of the risk it might carelessly spill its innards out.
Oh, it likes the word innard for these Pokedex
It
entries,
does.
doesn't
It likes innards. It does. I like Oh, okay. So we finally understand some of the innards when we get to Ultra Sun. Its shell is filled with a thick liquid. All of the cells throughout its body are being rebuilt in preparation for evolution. So that I guess makes sense because that is how cocoons work.
Yeah.
I do think. Oh my god. So Ultra Moon, we're back to it spilling out inside. So I guess there's a hole in the top because it says its hard shell doesn't crack a bit, even if Picky Peck pecks at it, but it will tip over, spilling out its insides. Now, that's gross. Like, that is gross. And it also implies that like it won't be damaged when it's pecked by bird type Pokemon, but it will. It has a hole. I guess it's not a complete shell. It's got a gap somewhere, and it will just spill its guts all over the floor. It's gloopy, reforming cells.
Will that kill it?
I don't know. But apparently lots of Pokemon professors have seen cracked open Metapods. Like, do you think there's like way more Caterpies in the world than there are Butterfree because of the amount of like Metapods that don't make it?
Yeah, and the amount of Caterpies that we found out got like we know that Caterpies are gonna get eaten. Like that was like one of the things that it was like its only thing is that it is food. And
yeah, it's weak in its food, and if it manages to make it to a Metapod, it might get knocked over and its guts spilled on the floor.
This is quite a sad sack Pokemon, isn't it? So I do want to point out: is this the first Pokemon, a Pokedex entry that we found that references another Pokemon in it?
Maybe.
Because is it because it's called Picky Peck that it's like that they went, even if a Picky Peck goes for it, like why have you made?
They could have had that exact same Pokedex entry in Red and Blue and been like, even if a Pidgey is pecking at it for hours, or even if a Spearow is pecking at it. I guess that's. I mean, they introduced Picky Peck in that generation, so I guess it's like a cute way of like encouraging people to engage with the newer Pokemon later down the line.
Yeah.
And like looking at relationships between new ones and old ones,
yeah,
and showing how the world slots together. I think that's quite cute. Yeah. I like it.
I've also got another question. Right,
go on.
Which is right. So if a Picky Peck like pecks a Metapod, right, causes all of its innards to spill out, right, and the Metapod is then not dead, right. When it evolves into like a Butterfree, does that mean that it's gonna have like half a leg or something? Yeah, like is it missing part of its
Maybe there's just like a secret colony of deformed Butterfree that didn't make it all the way. Like a piggy pet came and fucked it up right before it was about to evolve, and it's like missing an eye.
Yeah. Like just there, like just a whole group of them like sat round in it, and they're like, "Hi, welcome to Butterfree, Anonymous. We're here. We don't judge. Could you say what happened to you? Yeah, well, when I was Metapod, a pick a pet got us, and they're like, oh, that happened to Brian as well, and Steve. We've got a lot of sympathy. What about you? Well, the stadium professor was a dick and cracked me open.
So here is the thing, right? If a Metapod being knocked over can spill all its insides out, wouldn't that episodes have been well different if when Ash's Metapod got stolen by that Butterfree, it had just like spilled it all out onto the ground?
Oh, or if during the Metapod versus Metapod, like Misty had just come along and been like, "I'm first season, Misty. I don't give a shit." Yeah. Swatting Metapod, and then just all of its guts fell out on the floor.
Oh. Yeah, that would have been a very different approach to the storyline, I think.
Yeah, and the famous pink Butterfree. Maybe it's not meant to be pink. Maybe it's just got fucked up as a Metapod, and now it doesn't have skin.
Yeah, that makes more sense because that is not the colour of a shiny Butterfree.
Yeah, it's just living in agony with no skin.
No skin. Well, I'm sure it's used to it. It doesn't know. Well, I was gonna say it doesn't know any different, but I guess it does. It knew what it was like as a Metapod.
Yeah.
But yeah, where it had like iron hard shell skin. But I guess.
What I'm now imagining that Butterfree as. Have you seen RoboCop?
Yeah.
You know that scene at the end where the villain gets dropped into acid and he's like, "Help me." That's that pink Butterfree now.
Oh no. I feel like this is going to be a somewhat redundant exercise. Shall we move on to the Smogon ratings for Metapod?
What? What, you think that this is going to be? You think that this is not going to be ultra tier? Let's find out. NFE, not frequently summit. What does it stand for? Not fully evolved.
Not fully evolved.
So
yeah, well we know that because it's a cocoon. I would be really worried if it like finished in its cocoon phase and was just like, yeah, I'm done.
Oh, you'd be annoyed, wouldn't you?
But I mean, I'm not surprised that it still has shit stats.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. It has no good moves. I mean, I feel like its defense should probably be higher. Because that's its point. That's all it does. Is it sits there and withstands horrible attacks until its gloop is ready to emerge. Innards until its soft, tender innards are ready to no longer be soft, tender innards.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know how like they've done it countless times. It's like Ash's Pokemon don't want to evolve, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I think they would have really struggled to make us sympathise with a Metapod that don't want to evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Metapod's entire purpose is to evolve. It is just a stepping stone to a Pokemon that's actually good and isn't just food.
Well, should we give our Trubbish rating?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna give this, given that I gave Caterpie a 5, I'm gonna probably give this one a 3. In that I think that there is room to go lower, but it's pretty low.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I think most of like Ash's Metapod's story arc happened as a Caterpie or a Butterfree. And being uh a Metapod was not amazing,
Yeah, and
if we're honest.
its most iconic thing is almost taking the piss out of the fact that it can't do anything.
Yeah, and now I like it less because it's got gross, squishy insides that spill out if you knock it too hard.
Well, yeah, but you got to take that up with the stadium professor. He's the
I
one.
do.
He's the one cracking it open.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of the professors have been cracking it open or like setting their picky pecks on it to crack it open
Uh,
and just making a big, gloopy, stinky mess.
I mean, my question is, how many pecks would a picky peck peck if a picky peck could peck pecks?
Yeah. That's what I thought you were going to say when you started talking about picky peck. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. And then you went on to a serious question. So I thought I should engage with that.
Yes.
Instead
Well,
of distracted.
if I didn't have it written down on the stream, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
You're welcome.
Right, shall we go into the break?
Yeah, let's do another break.
Right, I need a wee again. So.
Wow, that's a long wheeze you're doing today.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Right, I'll be back in a minute.
Have fun. I'm trying to think about like other things. I've plugged all the Blizzard stuff that I'm doing at the moment. Like I can do that again, but I don't know if it's entirely necessary. I don't have anything else going on, gang. I'm not. We're just doing this. For anyone who missed it earlier, we have booked in our next one of these for Thursday, 1st of June in the evening. So at like 7:30, we shall be live talking about Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill, which have obviously come up a little bit already in this stream. Because I mean, when it's, such a direct like comparative Pokemon, it's difficult not to talk about those a little bit already while we're doing this one. But it'll be interesting, I think, to get stuck into those as well. If anyone else feels like doing some drawings like we have, the parameter, like you don't have to do your drawings our way. We like seeing any drawings that people want to do. But the parameters that we have been sticking to are from memory, in color, in 10 minutes, and otherwise you are free to do whatever kind of drawing you want. And if you have any, we'd love to see them. And if you want them to go on our socials, they can. If you want them to just stay between us, that's also fine.
Yeah.
But it is fun to see people like engaging and joining in, and it's nice to. I think I'm finding the drawings really like therapeutic. Like I stop doing my stupid, boring grown-up shit I've got to do for half an hour, and I just draw some Pokemon.
Yeah. I really like doing them whilst kind of commentating on like what I'm doing and kind of some of my memories, because it almost, I feel like it's almost like a bit of like it almost helps me put my like thoughts in order for some of the stuff that I'm like, oh, I might bring that up when we get chatting. And like, I don't know if you ever do this, but it's like sometimes I feel like it's better for me to kind of speak my thoughts out loud, and just kind of, it's gonna sound so odd, I think, but like almost like for me to kind of be able to see how they sound like in the real world versus just in my head.
Yeah, like articulating things can help straighten out your mind a little bit.
And I also like the fact that that like I can get kind of ideas of like what I want to do. Like, each Pokemon's like got its own kind of thing going on, and I think that there's like there's certain like I like how like all of our drawings have had some form of like nostalgia or personality or kind of our takes on them.
Yeah, I feel like if it wouldn't be annoying and a lot of additional work like I feel like it'd be fun to do like a drawing before the show and a drawing after the show because like now because last week we did long neck swirl.
Yeah.
So I feel like things come up when we're looking at the Pokedex entries that I feel like would be fun to draw. Like if like I would draw a cracked open stinky Metapod now, but I didn't wouldn't have known to do that
Mm.
up until I did this.
Yeah.
And like someone did Buff Ivysaur. Like if anyone out there wants to draw us cracked open stinky Metapod,
Yeah.
do it. I'd love to see that. I'd
Yeah.
love to see someone's rendition.
What I'm imagining, right? It's very manga inspired, and you know how you know how when you like watch it like when you read a manga and it was like say someone like hits someone and it'll be like F U and H is like it'll be like fuh and like
Yeah.
what I'm imagining, right? Cracked open Metapod, loads of ooze on the floor, but with the instead of fuh, it's innards.
And like a bunch of picky peck like coming at it.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe the Butterfree that are like missing a hand because
Yeah,
the stadium professor
someone draw
fucked it
us some
over.
deformed Butterfree.
So,
Anyway, speaking of Butterfree, should we talk about Butterfree?
yeah, let's do it. Let me just get there. Right, Butterfree. Um, again, I feel like everybody's had a Butterfree. Have you had a Butterfree?
Yeah. Yeah, they're I think Butterfree is a really, really good early game Pokemon to have. Like the Caterpie is easy to catch and evolve. You learn a lot about how Pokemon evolution works because it happens very quickly. And so you understand from evolving your Caterpie into a Butterfree what to expect from the rest of your Pokemon adventure, from the rest of your Pokemon team building. I think Butterfree is quite a well-rounded Pokemon. Like, obviously it only starts off with like tackle and string shot and harden, but as soon as it evolves, it immediately gets gust. So, I mean, at this point, you've probably got like a Pidgey or a Spear or maybe even both on your team. So you don't really need another flying type move. But like, if you want a flying type that has a bit more versatility to it than a Spearow or a Pidgey, like a Butterfree is a fair shout, especially at this early stage of the game where you don't have options necessarily for flying types that have a lot else going on. Um I like, it can learn all the status moves and you can build a really solid team around some of those status moves. And again, I think it learns some quite powerful moves for the stage of the game you're likely to get it. Like it can learn confusion and it can learn Psybeam a bit later on, I think. And then it has, some more bug type moves and some more flying type moves. And I think those that kind of move pool is quite rare at the stage of the game where you typically get a Butterfree. Like you can have a Butterfree before you're out of Viridian Forest, and then you've got moves that otherwise you would have to wait quite late in the game to get a Pokemon that can learn them. So I think if you know how to use your Butterfree, it could be a really solid addition. Like I probably wouldn't keep it as far as the Elite Four, but it's a solid addition to the start of the game for sure. It can be really valuable and it can also like teach you a lot about thinking strategically about what moves you use and how.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially when you're a kid, especially in the early bit of the game, it's easy to fall into the trap of the most powerful damage dealing moves. If they got stabbed, great, and that's it.
Yeah.
But because Butterfree has quite, again, a varied, diverse move pool, of lots of different types and lots of different um styles of battle. It it is one of those early game Pokemon that triggers you to think a bit more about how you're going to use Pokemon within a team and how you're going to use Pokemon in different ways.
Yeah.
So I think, Butterfree, good Pokemon to have.
Mm.
I say that like I don't dump every Butterfree I ever get straight into PC, but if I was playing like Red and Blue for the first time again, if like it wiped my memory and I was playing it again for the first time, like I might try harder to keep a Butterfree. I might get a bit more creative with it.
Mm.
Or
Yeah,
maybe I'll like replay Let's Go Eevee with a Butterfree or something.
I think that as you kind of revisit the games and you get an idea of that you don't necessarily all just want just attacking moves on your Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think it is good to be able to kind of see what else is about. Like I personally most playthroughs I'll have a Pokemon that can put a Pokemon to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I like it for trying to get what's it called? Try to like capture legendaries like later on, or things that are like a little bit more difficult to capture. I also like poison type moves. Like poison's like one of my favorite types. Again, one of the reasons why I've got Gloom as one of our like semi mascots is that I do really like poison type. So the fact it can get poison powder and sleep powder. I'm not as keen on paralysis. I find.
Yeah.
I don't like how the kind of hit and miss kind of element of it, and I'm not that bothered. I don't know about you, about like that. Like I've got to have my move go first.
Yeah. I agree. I think um I think paralysis can be kind of a naff one. I don't it's one of those ones that it's probably just my biased memory. But it's like when my Pokemon are paralyzed, they just don't do shit for 5 turns.
Mm.
When the opponent's Pokemon are paralyzed, they manage to like power through and do it anyway, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like the game is rigged.
I mean, it's like I remember back when I was a kid. I'm just looking now about whether or not it can. I think can it learn Confuse Ray, or Confusion?
Yeah, it learns confusion pretty early on, and then later on, Psybeam or its psychic type move that it learns by leveling up. And I think like it learns some pretty good moves by leveling up, but I think it's best like obviously like it stops learning moves quite early on, which again is fair because it's from a line of Pokemon that grow early and evolve early.
Mm.
So yeah, it gets confusion pretty early, then it gets like the powders. Then at level 16 it gets Psybeam, which is like quite a young level for a relatively powerful move. Um, and the last move it learns from leveling up is at level 44. So that's a really low level to be like done learning.
Mm.
But it can get some really, really top tier moves by TM.
Yeah.
So I think that is really interesting. And I think the issue with Butterfree is that if you're not using TMs, it its more powerful moves are like don't have stab.
Yeah.
It only learns Gust, Air Slash, and Tailwind that are flying type. And it's like they're not amazing. And Whirlwind's normal type. Why is Whirlwind normal type? Gust, Air Slash, and Tailwind are flying type moves. And like that's not a lot of for its like secondary typing. Um but I think it is one of those Pokemon that you have to be prepared to use TMs on, otherwise you're not gonna have the best options. Because it can learn some cool moves.
Yeah.
Uh especially if you can get those solid TMs to give it a bit of a boost.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was a kid, the thing that used to wind me up the most was and I'm about to say this, and you might be like, no, you've misremembered that. Um, I remember confusion like really like winding me up as a child. Like you saying that about when your Pokemon's paralyzed, it won't be able to move for 5 turns versus theirs, which it'll be like, oh, it just struggles through. Oh well done you, right? But like I seem to recall that when the Pokemon was confused as a kid, if it hurt itself in its confusion, I seem to recall being so wound up that I would be like squeezing my Game Boy so hard that potentially it could have broke like it used to like when I was a kid. I'm quite chilled out now, but like as a kid, I used to like throw my controllers at the wall and stuff like that. And
Oh my God.
yeah, I remember, right, I bought myself a new PS2 controller, and within like a couple of days I'd like broke it. I was so wound up, right? And I seem to recall like my Pokemon being confused like used to really wind me up. And so for it to have confusion, I think is probably actually quite a useful thing to have. Even though I feel like for me, whenever I probably got rid of it because I felt like their Pokemon never got never hurt themselves in its confusion, but mine always did.
Yeah, yeah, that is entirely relatable. Um, and especially because I feel like that was a an issue that really wound me up when you were fighting Zubats.
Yeah,
And I always felt like when I was fighting a Zubat, it was torture, and those Zubats were just so irritating. When I tried to use a Zubat, my Zubat just didn't do shit. And I'm then I learned how to use Zubat, and that's how I ended up with this little buddy.
oh,
But
did you know that it recently topped a fan poll for favorite Pokemon Crobat?
ah,
Yeah.
very cool.
So you are not alone. But yeah, I do. I remember, right, because I was an only child, so I used to speak to myself a lot. Right.
Hmm.
I seem to recall like if my Pokemon got hit and it had, if it was like Crobat has hit your Gloom, the attack was super effective. I seem to recall saying a lot as a child to the Game Boy, well, of course it was super effective. Of course it was. Like, why wouldn't it be? Right.
Oh, I love that. I love the mental image of like sassy little Tom getting annoyed at his
Oh,
own Game Boy.
well, I've got a potentially more pathetic one, which was I remember going, again, like I'd get so angry if my Pokemon got confused. It hurt itself in its confusion, and I remember as a child, if when it would pop up, your Pokemon hurt itself in its confusion, I would as a child go, it hurt itself in its confusion, it hurt itself in its confusion, it hurt itself in its confusion.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh, you. Aw. Oh.
Right. Oh, I'll tell you something that I think is also worth pointing out about. So, I mean, we mentioned it a little bit in the break, right? I think that Beedrill is sometimes considered like the cooler of the two, and I think because it's got all the stabbing needles and it is a bee and it's a bit more aggressive and stuff like that. So I was actually surprised that they gave Butterfree a Gigantamax form.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not surprised they gave Butterfree a Gigantamax form because, like, Butterfree being on Ash's team meant that it kind of there's more of a nostalgia element to it. I feel like it's Ash's team Pokemon that gets it. Like Beedrill's pretty prevalent in the show. You see some like very powerful Beedrill in like other people's teams and in the wild, obviously, and it's like a core feature of the Metapod episode, and then it's just a lingering threat every time they're in a forest.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there is definitely more of a story with Butterfree, more of a character with Butterfree. Like Butterfree and Ash go on a big long journey together. Like Butterfree, battles Misty's Staryu
Mm.
and is sick at it. Butterfree is in like a number of like key episodes. Like it's one of Ash's original team, and it's in uh there's the episode where like he is showing off how powerful and brilliant his Butterfree is, and like someone else wants it and offers to trade it for his Raticate, and like Ash desperately regrets it because he misses his Butterfree and like insists on trading back.
Mm.
Which I think was quite an emotional episode, to the point that like I didn't want to trade my Pokemon in game because I saw that episode thinking, oh, is my Pokemon going to be upset the same way that Ash's Butterfree is? Um, and I think it does kind of undermine the idea that you are supposed to trade Pokemon a little bit that episode, but like, oh well,
Mm.
I don't care that much. It's cute. Um, and I think again, it leans into that whole idea that like Ash's priority, as well as being good at battling and good at strategizing and all this other stuff that he wants, his priority is having those positive, fulfilling relationships with his team. And I think that's very cute.
Yes.
And then obviously you've got the, you know, the first Pokemon episode that makes you cry. Uh, which, to be fair, I don't think should have been called Bye Bye Butterfree. I think it definitely gives the finale away.
Yeah.
Um, in the title, but I think it's very sweet, like the way everyone has Butterfree's back when it falls for that pink Butterfree.
Mm.
I think you see their like mating ritual dance, which is like again a nice glimpse into like what they're like in the wild, and
Mm.
and how these Pokemon exist outside of having trainers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice like interesting glimpse into, I guess, like the Pokemon world's natural environment.
Yeah.
And then obviously like when Ash finally says goodbye, because he knows that that's what Butterfree wants, and what it'll be best is for it to be allowed to spread its wings, live
Mm.
its best life, go have a bunch of little Caterpies that are going to get eaten by Pidgeys.
Yeah. Well.
Um,
Well.
yeah, it's sad. It's cute, and it's
Yeah.
bittersweet because you know it's for the best, but you don't want to say goodbye, and
Mm.
it's again one of those, what Ash wants is what's best for his Pokemon, even if that means he has to let them go.
Mm. Well, um, hopefully there'll be more of these heartbreaking moments. Although I get the feeling that as we move beyond Kanto, there will be less.
Yeah,
Well, something that I
quite
wanted to
possibly.
show was uh, so I spotted this when I looked at Gigantamax Butterfree, which I didn't know was a form, and I'm guessing. So I'm just going to put it on that Gigantamax Butterfree is based on Mothra from
Okay,
from the Godzilla universe.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think it
Although,
looks.
like, there are moth Pokemon it could have been based on.
Well, that's going to bring me on to my next point, which we referenced very briefly. Well, not very briefly in the Blastoise episode. That there's a theory that that Venomoth and Butterfree were swapped.
Yes, I think there is. I think this has legs. This argument, because there are, um, I mean, like Butterfree and Venonat have the same eyes, whereas Caterpie and Metapod don't have the same sort of visual synergy with Butterfree.
Mm.
Um, and I think like the way that Venomoth is quite angular, compared to Butterfree. Like
Mm.
Butterfree's sort of, round and fat. I think Venomoth's like big round eyes
Yeah,
match Caterpie's eyes a bit more.
yeah,
And then it's sort of like pointier body matches Metapod's pointy body
yeah,
more than uh um Butterfree does. And I feel like I think it definitely looks like there could have been like a last minute switch over.
yeah. Well,
But it's not so incongruous now that I care. I
mm,
think it's more of just like a fun, like behind the scenes possibility.
yeah. Yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me if they went, okay, so this is probably going to be the first fully evolved Pokemon that we get, and
Mm-hmm.
Venomoth, well, what became Venomoth probably isn't quite, might feel like a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, I I guess. Um, I feel like it might have been. This is just like a theory in my head. It is not something I have any evidence for. I feel like it could be another um anime related reason. The way that like Pikachu was picked as a starter so that the kids who chose their starter when Pikachu wasn't an option, uh it wouldn't feel left out if Ash picked a different one. And also I feel like Venomoth is creepier than Butterfree. It looks more like a creepy bug rather than a cute
Mm,
butterfly. And I think knowing they had quite a young target audience for the anime, Caterpie is the easiest Pokemon to catch. Ash's first catch makes sense for it to be Caterpie. And then if that evolves into a creepy bug Pokemon, that might scare some children.
mm,
Just because there are creepy bug Pokemon around, the same way there are creepy ghost Pokemon around, isn't a bad thing. But I think if it's going to be in a lot of episodes, if it's going to be on Ash's main team coming out and battling quite
mm,
frequently, I think it makes more sense for it to be the cute butterfly Pokemon. And it doesn't make as much sense for Ash to be able to catch Venonat very early on in the show.
mm.
And I think like the more I say it out loud, the more it makes sense to me that like that could have influenced the decision.
Yeah. I mean, I think like looking at like the it's like you can see there the like the original like what could have potentially been the original like evolution line for Caterpie. I think it would have been difficult to do that kind of emotional storytelling with Venomoth as well.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like it's because of this theory partly that I had such a kind of strong image of Butterfree in my head for the drawing, because one of the things that I like put in first and foremost was I was like, I know that Butterfree's got hands. Like, and that's like one of the
Yeah.
that's like one of the arguments that they use of like, okay, why
And
does it go from having just feet to nothing to having hands?
yeah. Because it's also the same shape, hands, eyes, and nose as Venonat.
Yeah.
Like those core features are near identical. But I feel like if they wanted to, like the same way they have like Diglett and Wiglet are completely different Pokemon. They just seem to have developed in the same way, completely separately. This could be one of those fun things where it's just like, oh, people think that like Venonat and Butterfree have a common ancestor somewhere or something like that. Like I think that would
Mm,
be quite a cute sort of like meta
mm,
theory to go over it.
yeah.
Backstory. I think that'd be quite interesting if they pulled something like that in somewhere. I don't know if they will carry on with like additional explanations, additional stories for first generation Pokemon, but like enjoy seeing something that acknowledges the similarities because they've got the same antenna as well.
Yeah.
They've just got the same everything. They look so similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do think the not wanting Venomoth to be on Ash's team idea has legs.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that when we eventually get to the Venonat episode, all the Pokedex entries are full of Venonat stinks. It fucking hums.
Venonat fucking stinks. It's stinky, stinky body.
Right, so should we have a look at the Dex entries?
Let's do that.
Okie doke. So, in battle, it flaps its wings at high speed to release highly toxic dust into the air. Now that, to me, right, it might just be because of what we've just come into this off of. That almost makes it sound like a moth. Because, like moths have got, like, dust on their wings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I think Butterfree's signature moves are like poison powder, um, stun spore, uh, the sleep powder, all of those ones, the powder type of moves. I think that makes sense. I feel like it could easily have either kept that over from when it was supposed to be a Venomoth, but also like I think all of the kind of moth butterfly Pokemon have this. Like Venomoth has a very similar move set. Um, Dustox and Beautifly have a very similar move set. They all have these kind of like powder based moves that are sort of very similar.
Mm.
And I feel like it is one of those ones that sort of makes sense that they can all do a similar thing. They all have that similar fight style, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very in line again with like if we're correct about this kind of being an earlier like the bug types being earlier in their kind of concepts, and that would be why they are closer to reality, because it is its genesis was from bug catching in Japan. That it would make sense that these are quite true to life, and probably at least early on. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't read these in advance. But like it wouldn't surprise me if these feel like quite realistic, at least in our kind of red, yellow, gold, silver entries before they start to kind of become a little bit more. Butterfree's dust can cover an entire Subaru within one flap of its wing.
I feel like, funnily enough, so the first handful, red, blue, yellow, and stadium are quite consistent. Like it's got dust on its wings. It can fly in the rain with its water repellent wings. Be careful not to breathe in its dust. That makes sense, and it also fits in with its battle style.
Yeah.
However,
useful for any asthmatics like myself.
Yeah. From gold onwards, it suddenly gets really obsessed with it collecting honey. Like, gold says it collects honey every day. It rubs honey onto the hairs on its legs to carry it back to its nest. Someone please draw me a Butterfree with hairy legs, please. And again, I think that the hairy legs thing kind of matches the Venonat to Butterfree evolution, because Venonat is hairy and Caterpie is not.
Yeah.
So I think that does also support that sort of theory that they were supposed to be connected. Water repellent powder on its wings enables it to collect honey even in heavy rain. It flits from flower to flower collecting honey. It can identify distant flowers in bloom. Like, none of this is about battle or dust or anything. It's all about honey. And I don't really remember in like the games or the show, like Butterfree being particularly centered around honey in any way, but like all of the Pokedex entries carry on like this. Ruby and Sapphire, Butterfree has a superior ability to search for delicious honey. It can search out, extract, and carry honey home from flowers that are blooming over 6 miles from its nest. Which honestly, given a lot of the other Pokedex entries are like hard as an iron slab, it can melt boulders, like 6 miles feels like a very realistic brag.
I mean,
the others.
I'm wondering if the professor that wrote these, like, wrote a lot of them at like breakfast time and was like,
Yeah.
was like, oh, do you know what I could really do with for my toast? Some honey.
Yeah.
Get that Butterfree over there now.
Diamond and Pearl go as far as not just that it does the honey, but it loves the honey of flowers. Can locate flower patches that have even tiny amounts of pollen. Then back to rubbing it on its hairy legs. Who knew Butterfree was into splodging?
Is that a thing?
Wha-
I didn't know.
that
Is that a thing?
Don't Google it while you've got your thing on the stream.
Uh,
It loves honey, water repellent powder, enables it to collect honey. It loves more honey.
oh,
Wings are protected by rain repellent dust. I feel like that could have been more fun to incorporate into the battle element of Butterfree. Have its wings be water resistant and have it like powerful against Misty. Like I know
yeah,
it can learn some grass type moves, but I think its damage dealing ones are TM ones, which you probably wouldn't have by the time you get to Misty. But I guess if you've taught it those by the time you get to is there a water type Elite Four trainer? I don't know. I don't remember for Gen 1 off the top of my head. I think it's ice type.
yeah, ice type, yeah.
Yeah. Um, which probably wouldn't be as good because ice is definitely better against flying type and bug type. So I like so I feel like yeah, if that had been or even just incorporated into the show a little bit, like when Ash fought Misty and used Butterfree and Staryu hit Butterfree, I feel like I know Butterfree did shake it off pretty well,
Yeah.
and it was like the force of the jet that had more of an impact than the fact that it was water. But I feel like if they'd shown that kind of if someone had just sort of if like Brock or someone had been in the background being like, oh, Butterfree actually has like water resistant wings and like that would have been an interesting way to draw that like fun fact in.
Yeah.
I like so Sun and Moon starts getting fucking way off base. Close examination of its large eyes reveals that each eye is composed of a myriad of tiny eyes. And now I'm horrified. That's horrifying. I hate it. Thank you. Hate it.
Somebody send us an image of Butterfree with its eyes made out of tiny eyes.
Yeah. When attacked by other Pokemon, it defends itself by scattering poisonous scales and fluttering its wings. I feel like the Moon Professor was just like, bitch, this ain't dust, it's scales, but otherwise that is the same as all of the toxic dust ones. Ultra Sun, its wings are covered in toxic scales. If it finds bird Pokemon going after Caterpie, Butterfree sprinkles its scales on them to drive them off. I think that's very cute. I like this one. I like that it shows its relationship to its offspring.
Yeah.
I like that it shows a bit of like the food chain in the Pokemon world, shows a bit of its relationships to other Pokemon, and how its battle style has kind of like evolved as an evolutionary necessity.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, like both of them, because this here is for the first time since the Stadium Professor, where it almost feels like this is done by like a different person. Like I like the fact that they feel a tiny bit pedantic. It's like they've gone. Actually, I think you'll find that the powder is its toxic scales. And it's like they've gone into like they did this. They had originally done the initial bit of like it finds bird Pokemon going after Caterpie, and these bird Pokemon are like you stinky bug, and then it sprinkles its scales on them to drive them off, and then it felt like the need to like that would have done for me as an entry, but then it felt the need to be like, actually, I think you'll find that the powder is scales, toxic scales, and I feel like what backs this up is so all of them have been like it rubs honey on its legs, splodging, whatever that is, right? I'm not googling it until we're off stream, but it's also felt the need to go nectar. You don't get honey from flowers. bees make honey in hives. I think you'll find that the nectar is its favourite food, not the honey. So get on with it. And again, it could have just had, in Fields of Flowers, it has heated battles with Caterpie for territory. That could have been the entry, but it felt the need to be like nectar. Get it right, nectar, and then Professor Oak has gone back to just being carefree in Let's Go Pikachu. It's like covered in poisonous powder. Just be like, don't give a shit that they're scales, mate. Don't give a shit.
I do like the Cutiefly detail because like I enjoy that. Again, it shows more relationships with other Pokemon in the environment in its natural habitat. These ones, Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, feel like someone is observing them in the environment.
Yeah.
Rather than jabbing it until its insides fall out. And I feel like Butterfree is kind of like aggressive. Like it's fighting with bird Pokemon, which I guess that makes sense because it's trying to eat its babies. It's fighting with Cutiefly over nectar and flowers. And like I'm just imagining like Butterfree, if we have a look at the stats bit, is 3'7" and 70 pounds. As we established earlier, Sam could fuck up a Butterfree.
Yeah.
But like a Cutiefly is, I believe, like one of the smallest bug types. So why is this like, like preteen sized Pokemon starting fights with a fucking 4-inch big 4-pound Pokemon over some flowers? Can't you fucking learn to share, Butterfree? You bellend.
Yes. What I want to keep an eye out for in the future now is, because we already know that there's beef between the Stadium Professor and Professor Oak, but I want to now see in future if Ultra Sun, if the Generation 7 Professor carries on being obnoxious.
I would, yeah. I think that's going to be a fun one to figure out. I'm quite enjoying the kind of like headcanon we're working on of the various Pokemon professors.
Yeah, they are fuming.
Ongoing rivalry.
Oh, well, I mean, that's something that you get with this podcast. Feel free to follow the podcast through all the various ways that you can follow a podcast, and get us on Patreon for more heated Pokemon Professor action.
I'm going to drop a link to the link tree in the chat for anyone who is not already following us on all of the places.
Yes. And when we get to 500 followers, we're going to do our next competition. So
follow us and everything, and tell all your friends to follow us too.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend all that time looking for some like fun, interesting like Pokemon goodies we can get together.
Yeah.
For people to win.
And now for a chat from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Fuck all the way off. I would never accept sponsorship from Raid Shadow Legends. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Not happening. Don't even joke. You just gave them free advertising by reminding people they exist.
Oh, apologies.
Get on with the smog on.
I just felt like we'd done such a good job of promoting the podcast that might have sounded vaguely plausible. That's what we're going into. Right,
wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Right, let's go. Let's go into smog on. Okie doke. So. It's in untiered, which I don't think bodes well for it.
Yeah, because as I think that's fair, because as I was saying before, it does have good. It is a good Pokemon for figuring out how to strategize in the early stages of the game. It is not one I would necessarily expect to be on your final team, because like it's decent, but it's not it's not great. Like its stats aren't amazing, really. Um, like there's nothing that makes me think, yeah, this is great apart from its decent enough move pool. But yeah, I'm not surprised people aren't fighting with it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, and again, like its stats aren't amazing. Like you can see there,
Yeah.
like it's got some yellow and orange, but um, you know your attack and defense, base attack, base defense, ain't great, and neither's the HP. And I think that if you are going to be sticking with a Butterfree, um, like how much it attacks, how much it can take, and how much HP it's got are going to be all like really important to you. Um,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, that's something that I would not have guessed that it was bug flying type.
It is bug flying type. It's always been bug flying type.
Yeah, I see. In my head, I always just imagined it as just bug on its own. And I suppose that would be like another reason too that it could get swapped out. You know, like what you said. You know, if you've got, you know, once you hit level 16 or 17, is it? If you've got a Pidgey, that's going to be going up into a Pidgeotto, and it's probably going to be at that point like it's going to start losing ground in terms of that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering if it's got Gigantamax Butterfree on here as well. Which, yes, it does.
I assume it will do because it had the Gigantamaxes for the others, didn't it?
Yeah. So here it is, and it's like its stats haven't gone up massively there really.
No.
Which tier is it in? It's got AG, which I don't think we've had yet. Anything goes. So that's for 6v6 matches, which I have not, because I didn't play. Am I right in thinking that that's on Sun and Moon that they do 6v6s?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that I missed that particular game. So yeah, so it would appear that it is used, but again, it's probably swapped out quite early on, which is why they've probably not bothered to mess around with its stats. So should we give it our Trubbish rating?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think?
I'm thinking again based on the ratings that I've given other Pokemon. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a 7, and the reason why is because so I gave a Caterpie a 5 and I gave a Metapod a 3, and I think it is better than Caterpie, so I think it deserves to be higher than a 5. But thinking back on the ratings that I gave the starters, some of the middles I think I gave a 7, and I think I can't give it higher than the middle evolutions for the starters, because I think that it's Butterfree is very good, and you can build a team around it like what we've said, but I think that once you start to hit the middle evolutions for your starters, that's when this Pokemon starts to kind of fall out of your team rotation.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not one that's going to last. But yeah, I agree. I would also give it a 7 because I feel like it does deserve to be in like the higher end of the spectrum because um it's a really good Pokemon to have in your early bit of the game. It's really good at teaching you how to, like, in helping you figure out how to play the game well so that you're prepared by the time that your full team finally comes together. And I think it's also got a lot of those. I think it is a really memorable Pokemon because it's got a good handful of like big emotional story beats in the show, and it sticks with you. And like I still cry every time Ash says goodbye to Butterfree.
Ah, nice. Right, so we are at the end of Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree. I know you said in the break, but do we have any things that we want to plug just before we sign off?
Yeah, so we have our next Blizzard comedy tomorrow with the absolutely incredible Pope Lonigan headlining. We've still got plenty of tickets free. It's gonna be fucking sick.
Mm,
Um, we've also got more previews coming up later on in the month. We've got Hannah Platt and Keris Bradley um doing their new work in progress shows. Um, we've got some pretty cool streams coming up. We're going to be chatting to Ben Hodge on the Blizzard Comedy
mm,
Twitch. Those are all going to be great. Make sure that you're following those. And then apart from that, I am going to be taking a break, going to Italy, fucking off for a bit. And then when I come back, we'll be doing the next Talking Trubbish on June 1st. Details of that are in the chat now. We'll be talking obviously about Weeder, Kakuna, and Beedrill, and hopefully that's enough time that anything that overlaps with this episode, you will have become conveniently forgotten about.
that's the dream, isn't it?
What about you, Tom? You doing anything fun?
What have I got on? Well, so we're going to be doing the Bubsy 3D stream soon. So I'll be posting about that. I've got my course coming up, my presentation course, Comedy Lab, which I'm running in Manchester. That's in July. But the places for that have started selling. So if you fancy learning how to boost your presentation skills through stand-up, improv and clowning techniques, I'm going to be doing a 2-day intensive for that. And at the end, you'll get a little video clip of some of the exercises that you did, along with a 2 to 3 minute piece that I'll help you come up with, that's almost like a mix between stand-up and a kind of promo video. So if you fancy that, that's coming up in July. And I'm also doing my next preview of the stand-up horror show, June the 3rd in Manchester. And also we are going to be on the radio tonight, Fab Radio International, promoting the podcast around about 7:30 this evening. So if you fancy that, that's an online free radio service. Right, yeah, I think that's everything.
That sounds wicked. Yeah. See you all soon. Don't forget to send us your drawings if you have them. And please don't forget to be following us on all the social channels. You can vote for which one of ours you think is best. They will be up over the course of the next little while.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Have a lovely bank holiday Monday.